Pro wrestling can be very unpredictable. As good old JR once said,
anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation.
with stories changing on the fly and segments being cut at a moment's notice, it's hard to imagine that some cheeky promo on a random episode of Main Event could actually be a teaser for something big down the line. Whether it's pure coincidence or not, today we look at WWE promos that predicted the future. Roman Reigns teases the head of the table gimmick. The tribal chief persona is Roman Reigns' defining character and without a doubt one of the greatest heel gimmicks WWE has ever created. And while this version of Roman would grace our television screens in 2020, he actually kinda teased it 6 years earlier. Fresh off from the Shield breakup in 2014, the big dog was interviewed by Renee Young on a random episode of Main Event. And while the promo was nothing special, he looked very green on the mic. In fact, there was one thing he said that made it stand out years later.
I take my rightful place at the head of the table.
This wasn't the only early reference to the tribal chief gimmick though, as back in 2018, Paul Heyman kinda hinted at a partnership between him and Roman when he uttered the infamous announcement for the very first time.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I am the advocate for the reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns!
Of course, this was all just an elaborate ruse by the wise man to get the big dog to let his guard down so that his client can take advantage. Both of these instances were probably just a happy coincidence, but it's funny to think that WWE teased the iconic character not once but twice years before its inception. Real quick, we're trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so your subscription would really mean a lot. Thank you. Bray Wyatt's promo alludes to The Fiend. If there's one thing the late great Bray Wyatt knew, it's how to create compelling characters that have a deep lore behind it. But surely even he couldn't have intentionally referenced something that would only happen 4 years down the line. Or could he? Well, in January of 2015, Bray Wyatt would cut his usual Bray Wyatt style promo, the one where he speaks in tongues and gets all rambly about something, but what really made it so interesting is what he said towards the end.
Let him in. Let me in.
As we all know, "Let me in" would be the catchphrase used by Bray's more sinister persona in The Fiend, which he unveiled in 2019. So either Bray was 10 steps ahead of everyone, or again, it was just a random coincidence. I'd like to think it's the former. SmackDown vs. Raw spoils Legacy's Implosion. I know it's kinda cheating as this happened in a video game, but it is still a WWE promo technically, so In 2008, Randy Orton formed his own faction alongside two other second and third generation superstars in Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr. that was aptly called Legacy. The group had a fairly successful run, winning multiple world titles until their inevitable breakup in March of 2010. This would culminate in a triple threat match at WrestleMania 26 where Orton would go over. Surprisingly, THQ telegraphed the implosion first, as in Randy Orton's Road to WrestleMania story mode in SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, Rhodes and DiBiase would turn on Randy and cut a promo challenging the Viper to a triple threat match at Where You Ask, WrestleMania 26.
So let's have a little match at WrestleMania, a triple threat, Ted, myself, and you. Winner becomes World Heavyweight Champion.
For context, SBR 2010 was released on October 20th of 2009, 5 months before the real-life implosion happened. So, us gamers basically got spoiled with the outcome. Whoops. MVP's well-laid-out plan. MVP probably deserves way more praise for reinventing himself into a damn great manager. He managed to turn Bobby Lashley's career around and formed one of the most criminally short-lived factions in the Hurt Business. And on top of that, he also knows how to keep his promises. During the May 25th, 2020 episode of Raw, Drew McIntyre and MVP had a heated confrontation in the ring, with MVP making a bold prediction by saying,
"When Drew McIntyre loses the WWE Championship, I will personally play a role in that outcome."
Now you'd think this would just be some empty threat that just about every heel does to stir the pot, but no. 9 months later, he did play a huge role in McIntyre losing his title by orchestrating the Miz's cash-in at Elimination Chamber. This would in turn give his client Bobby Lashley an easier path to winning his first WWE title. Triple H was right about CM Punk. CM Punk is a curious case of what happens when your ego is too big for your own good. And while his self-destruction in AEW has led to a shift in fan perception for the man who was once hailed as the voice of the voiceless, Triple H pretty much foresaw this almost a decade earlier. The game had always been been a harsh critic of Punk, and during their contract signing for their match at Night of Champions 2011, Triple H had some choice words for him.
Because unless CM Punk is the guy, the man, that's not enough change for you.
A lot of fans obviously trashed him for saying anything but nice things about the Second City Saint, but turns out he was actually right. I guess we owe him an apology. Arn Anderson's eerie foreshadowing about Chris Benoit. The tragic story of Chris Benoit's death and the death of his family is one that changed wrestling forever and is still talked about till this day. Even though nobody could have foreseen the horrific events that would unfold, a rare work shoot promo from Arn Anderson in December 14th of 1996 eerily foreshadowed this moment. Arn had some very stern words for Benoit as part of an angle for his blood feud with Kevin Sullivan, talking about the importance of family.
Number one, you take care of your family. The one constant will always be in your life is your family.
Obviously, this was just meant to add more heat into a feud, but the way Arn delivered that promo made you think he was speaking of something that would happen more than a decade into the future. I mean, just listen to that opening line.
You see, something's either happened or it's about to happen of an unbelievable magnitude.
Daniel Bryan predicts his own future. Okay, I'm definitely cheating on this one, but it's just too spot on not to include. In 2009, a documentary was released called Wrestling Road Diaries, which highlighted the journeys of 3 independent wrestlers across America, and one of those wrestlers was Bryan Danielson. In the documentary, Bryan, who had just signed with the WWE at the time, shared his thoughts on the company and pondered how his career might turn out. This is what he had to say about it.
If they decide to fire me after 2 years, I'll survive it. Being an independent wrestler makes you strong mentally. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years without those big paychecks coming in. But I think if I'm given the opportunity, I can do really well. If they give you 3 minutes to do your thing, do the best you can for 3 minutes. You know, wrestling is very important to me and I've worked very hard for it. But if all of a sudden, say if my health says that I can't wrestle anymore, do you know what? I'll be okay with that. Hopefully everything goes through with my health issues with WWE, and if it's not fun, then, you know, move on to something else.
You could not tell me Daniel Bryan is not some sort of clairvoyant after watching this. The guy predicted his entire WWE career dead on before even stepping foot in it. Just insane. What other weird wrestling premonitions you know actually came true? Let me know in the comments below. Till the next video, peace.